Welcome to lesson 4 of Intro to Swift Protocol. In this lesson, you will learn how two objects may communicate with each other by using the delegate pattern. Data between object classes is the fundamental ways we receive information from the operating system. For example, you've probably seen those app delegate Swift file within an Xcode project. What's happening is that is an object that receives information from the operating system. So it tells the operating system, tells the app delegate, hey, this was launched and this is how the user launched your app. They use push notification, they click in the icon. It tells you, the app delegate, so we developer have access to this object and customize it on our own. At this point, things may not make sense because you haven't really discovered how the delegate structure works. In this lesson, we will learn how to do that. We'll learn how to create our custom implementation for delegate pattern. So let's begin. You should be very, very excited about this. Alright guys, welcome to the delegate pattern with Bob the Developer. Today, we'll talk about one of the most important lessons of all time, the delegate pattern. How does delegate even work? And that is a part of this, that is what we want to try to solve today. So, what's the purpose of delegate? Just to tell you, the delegate pattern is to use to communicate between past data between objects. That's it. So for example, you have a view controller. You have view controller 1 to second view controller. You want to send data from view controller 1 to second view controller. You may use a delegate pattern to do that. Okay, because view controller is nothing more than an object for that. Yeah. So, but a lot of times people just simply memorize it and don't have no clue how things work. For example, you might have seen something like this in the past. Table view that delegate equals self. Or table view, collection view, doesn't really matter which one you use, but delegate pattern you use everywhere in the iOS ecosystem. A lot of people don't understand what the heck is going on behind the implementation of it, and you don't want to do that. You don't want to be a code monkey. And if you've been a code monkey, it's okay. I've been a code monkey for a while too. But in this lesson from today, let's learn how things work. Okay, let's understand the fundamentals, and everything else should work out for you. So first of all, again, the goal is to send data from first VC to second VC. And the delegate pattern has to do with protocol, and you'll see why the protocol is used throughout. First of all, when you send data from first view controller to second view controller in the delegate pattern, first view controller is considered as a delegator, and the second view controller is a delegator. Well, the terminology may not make sense, and I don't like the term delegate. It's kind of, the word delegate is rarely used, and it's a confusing term. But what I can say is that first view controller is like the CEO, assigning a bunch of work to the second VC, which is also known as the secretary. So for example, you're able to send data, or also known as you can send a bunch of contracts from first view controller to second VC and telling, hey, secretary, do something with the contract. Make sure, filter out the good ones. You can tell the secretary to do that. But delegate pattern is actually that's it. You want to send data from first view controller to second view controller. You want to send contract from one place to the other. Okay. So first of all, you want to design protocols, and as I said, it's like the CEO as well as secretary relationship. I think analogy is better way to go about it, instead of just throwing out a bunch of words like delegate, delegator, or data source. Those are meaningless. Those are terms created by somebody else, and it doesn't really make sense. At first, of course, it makes sense when you learn it. So now what you want to do, you want to design protocol, and just follow me along. You'll see why protocol will be used, why it is used along the way. You're going to design a protocol, contains pass data. Delegate, it contains a method called pass data. You're going to enter data. It can be string, it can be data, anything. Okay, and let's design the first view controller, also known as a delegator, or also known as a CEO, also known as what? The sender. Okay, the delegator or the sender, just call it sender. The CEO is a better term for now, but we're going to come back to it. So first view controller contains this var delegate optional property that confirms the pass data delegate. Okay, so that means the delegate property should have a method called pass data down the road, right? You can tell because why? Because you know that pass data delegate, we learned in the last lesson that protocol can be used as a type. Okay, so cool, we have this delegate, but now if you attempt to do something like this, you are able to do that because first make an object, have a access as a property, and then call this pass data method a bunch of contract, but it's not going to work. Okay, it's just nil because you know that you have not assigned a delegate a property. You have not assigned any object to this delegate property. Okay, well right now you're like, why do we do this? Well, you will see how everything fits together just within the minutes. So you've learned how to design one that sends data, but you also want to design something also known as delegate the received data. Okay, so how to do that? Well, first of all, you're going to design second VC, and it confirms to pass data delegate. And if second VC confirms to pass data delegate, you have to have that protocol called pass data, and let's call it pass data right there, and just simply let's just print something. Something has happened. Something has happened. Okay. Something has happened. Oh, good. Okay, so why do we even do that? Well, you'll see what's happening. So now let's create two objects. These are what we are trying to set up to pass data from first view controller, second view controller. Okay. So now create two objects: first view controller, second view controller. And then here comes the not really the magic, but what you want to do is you have this first VC contains what property called the delegate, and you want to assign an object to this delegate. And as you know, you may assign the second view controller to the delegate because why? Because it confirms the pass data delegate. You know that protocol can be used as a type. So just like that, you want to assign the delegate the property with the second VC object right there. So now what's happening is you are able to execute this delegate function. What was it there? Pass data. Let's call it this time. Let's call it a bunch of contract. You're sending data called a bunch of contract to somewhere, but let's see what happens. You see, something has happened, is executed. Why is that so? Because you know that first VC.delegate right now, the second VC has been assigned to the delegate, and you're calling this pass data a bunch of contracts. So you are literally running this pass data method from first view controller. So you're sending data from, you're running this method, pass data method, from first view controller through delegate. We call it delegate method. This is a method comes from the delegate from the protocol, right? So you're literally when we say the word delegator, a delegator is a one that calls a function of the delegate. So for example, if first VC is a delegator that calls the function pass data of second VC right now. So you're calling this function, so that's why the print something has happened is executed right there. Okay, but not only that, you may have access to this property called data, this parameter of data. So now you can do something like this. The CEO gave me a bunch of contract on the bottom right there, because you know that you're sending data from first VC, sending data a bunch of contract, and you're executing this function. Okay, that's it. That's what the delegate pattern is. Literally nothing more than sending data from first VC to second VC. And how to do that? Well, have this delegate property assigned, and that's how the delegate pattern works in iOS programming. Okay. So hopefully, if it is confusing you guys or you, make sure you may feel free to check out this article. Talk about the complete understanding of delegate data source. If you're still confused, you can always contact me, call me up through the phone. You can call me on Slack, through any other medium. I'm more than happy to help you guys out. So now let's talk about practical example in iOS development. So how does the iOS ecosystem utilize this delegate pattern to send data from one object to the other? Well, let's go back to this one right here. This is one of the classic examples that iOS ecosystem likes to use a delegate pattern to pass data from table view object to self, which refers to the UI view controller object. Okay, let's see what happens. So now we're gonna import UI kit. First of all, let's create a view controller called Bob View Controller. But what it contains a table within here. So we have a table view, UI table view right there. All right, you made an object. So when you're working with view controller, there's an object for table. So if a screen of like this big, you may have a little tiny bit of table view object available right there, and you may scroll up and down. Okay. So in this case, now the Bob View Controller confirms the UI table view delegate, but you can tell already, all right, you can tell already that Bob View Controller is actually delegate of a table view. Okay, why is that? So because it confirms to UI table view delegate. So you can tell that UI table view, this table view is actually the delegator, is actually the CEO, while the Bob View Controller is the delegate, is the secretary. So what's happening, you are sending data. You will learn how to send data from table view to Bob View Controller. So for example, when you press something, press the row 3 of table view, you want to tell View Controller, hey, you pressed table 3. All right, you want to tell, hey, you've pressed table 4, do something about it. And do something about it is done by Bob View Controller, just like above here. The CEO gave me a bunch of contract. You may do UI update, pop up, animation, and these activities are done by the delegate. Okay, same thing. You may simply send data where you press the table and tell, hey, view controller, I've sent you this data, do something about it. So UI table view delegate, this property comes with a couple optional methods that you may use. One of them example is did select row add. Okay, you can say print table view, print index path. So index path refers to which row you pressed. So what's happening here? But it's not going to work in the first place. So by the way, you are able to, this is delegate function. So it works something like this. So table view, of course we cannot see what's inside of table view, but it works something like this. Table view contains this delegate property. As you've seen, this is like first view controller, right? Has delegate property, and it runs this method called table view. You're entering table view data here, and also entering index path data here. Okay. And that's why when you run this, you are running this function from table view, right? You're running this function that resides in Bob View Controller, like second view controller. You're running this function, okay? But it's not gonna work. Why is that? So because you have to assign the delegate. So right now, table view delegate is empty, as you've seen it above. You have to have as we've seen it above. It's empty right here. Right, first VC is a delegator, but if you call it, it's not going to work because the delegate is empty. So you have to assign the delegate with something else, with second view controller, with a delegate, the actual delegate that confirms to pass data delegate or the UI table view delegate. So here you do video load, super video load, right? And then here you called table view delegate contains delegate property equals self, and self refers to the object of Bob View Controller. Okay, so now when you pressed one of the buttons, one of the rows in table view, it automatically calls this delegate table view method. You're sending this index path. I don't exactly know how the delegate table view looks like. It contains all the methods and properties associated with it, but we know for sure they call this method internally by itself automatically, and then you're sending this index path data through here, and then you have access to the index path parameter available, so you may use it and print it, do all kinds of stuff. Go to the next view controller if you wish to, animation, go to next go to next view controller, all you can do with it. So that's delegate pattern. It's all about sending data from one place to the other. Okay, so am I making sense? So in the next lesson, I'm going to talk about the data source, which is quite nothing more than, okay, I'm not going to talk about it right now, but hopefully you guys understand that delegate pattern is used to send data from first view controller to second view controller. In this case, in iOS development, table view is actually the delegate. You're sending data from table view to about view controller, which is a delegate. Table view is a delegator, the CEO sending data to about view controller, which is also known as a delegate or the secretary. And then you have access to the parameters such as index path, and use those parameters to do something about it. Okay. Alright guys, so don't be a code monkey. Make sure you understand what the heck is going on when it comes this way. Hopefully I'm making you guys smarter. So see you guys in the next lesson. Boom. So now let's recap how the delegate pattern works in overall. So there are two objects, but what's happening is this object contains this object. So you're able to call a function of this object B from object A. So you're able to call this function with a parameter, let's say data, with Bob the developer. When you call the method of this one from here, what's happening, you're able to use that method and pass the data of Bob the developer, and you're able to use it within here. This is like an app delegate. This is a delegate, this is a delegator. And again, the delegator contains an optional property called delegate, and you should be assigned to it later down the road. Okay, that's why when you use table view, collection view, you have to call table view.delegate equals self. Okay, again, table view, collection view are the delegators, and view controller, the self, is the delegate. Okay, is everything all good? If you have any more questions, comment down below. I really want to help you understand the delegate pattern. If nothing's really making sense, I mean, what can I do for you? I mean, you can call me up. I should be available through my email, anywhere else. So keep learning, and in the next lesson we talked about how one method, one object may communicate to the delegator may talk to the delegate. In the next lesson you will learn how the delegate talks back to the delegator, how the secretary may talk and complain back to the CEO. Well, let's get into it. See you in the next lesson.